How great. Okay, it's coming up 11:05. Shall we rock and roll, everybody?
Yeah.
Yes, please. Yeah.
Good?
Let's get started.
Yeah. Okay, excellent. So good morning to you all on this very, very beautiful Friday. What a perfect end to the week. I can't see all of you. And of course, we're still living in online virtual land. So apologies if I don't see raised eyebrows or hands up or what the like. This is the time to use your voice if you need to jump into this morning's conversation. You were probably all expecting to probably see Niamh or Katie or indeed Paul this morning. To explain why it's me, my name is Karen O'Donoghue. I work with GIY. We are a long-standing partner of ChangeX's. And actually, just before I continue, I'm going to ask people to maybe mute, if that's okay, because I'm hearing a little bit of feedback. And as much as I'd love to be at a concert or a festival right now, it's not quite the same thing. Beautiful. Okay. So yeah, my name is Karen O'Donoghue from GIY. We are a long-standing partner of ChangeX, and in fact, my colleague Tara is going to be talking to you a little bit later on. But I was invited by the gang to come and talk to you today because it is a massive celebration of all things Microsoft Community Fund. This is the 10th community fund that ChangeX and Microsoft have announced and launched, which is a massive achievement. But of course, we all know how proud we are of Ireland and Irish relationships and Irish connections. And so, you know what? The gang in the UK and the gang in the US have done really well. But today, it's all about Dublin, people. So congratulations. And here we go for the launch of number 10, the best, no pressure, of the Microsoft Community Fund. You're going to hear from quite a few people today. And there are loads of stories, loads of inspirations, and a very definite invitation, which is to contribute in the chat. We'll get to questions best we can. If we can't answer your questions today, we absolutely will follow up. And as well as the announcement of all things Microsoft Community Fund related, there's a real opportunity here for you guys to spread the word. That's the biggest thing that we're going to ask of you to do. Have a think. Who's in your network? Who do you know personally and professionally? What school can you think of? What community group are you engaged with? Who do you know in local media? All of those people that you have in your phone are going to be critical to this, and we're going to ask you for your support to spread the really good word around Dublin and get some amazing social innovations happening left, right and centre. Okay, so that's enough from me. I'm going to introduce first and foremost, if that's okay, Mr. Gary Mclaughlin. I feel like I should be doing a drum roll, Gary. Are you up for it? Are you going to come and talk to all these amazing people about the fund?
Yeah, certainly. Yeah. If I wasn't nervous, I am now. But yeah, thanks. Thank you very much, Karen. I just want to start by saying, well, first of all, my name is Gary Mclaughlin. I'm part of the Microsoft Data Center Community Development Team. I know a lot of people on the call, and I just want to say thank you very much for joining. It's great to see such a healthy mix of both community-based organizations. We have the South Dublin Chamber present here as well today. We have Microsoft colleagues supporting the call as well. And we have the wonderful ChangeX team. And we also have the social innovators that are going to speak about their project concepts that are part of this Dublin Community Challenge. We have a couple of slides to actually present, which we can run through, which will give a little bit of background about who the Data Center Community Development Team are. And so, Niamh, I think you're going to bring up the slides.
Yeah, can you see this now?
Yes. So if you just want to advance onto the first one for...
Yeah.
So corporate social responsibility is deeply rooted within the DNA of Microsoft. And I suppose within this first slide, we just wanted to share that, we do have a number of different activities throughout Microsoft, i.e. through the likes of the philanthropy teams, through the Tech for Social Impact team, through projects like AI for Earth or AI for Good. We also have, I suppose, wonderful resources from our education pillar as well that supports school leaders and educators. And our data center team are no different. we look to support in building those community partnerships where we have data centers located. We're also looking to establish that open dialogue, and we do host a biannual Voice of the Community, which many of you have actually joined before. And I hope by extending this invitation today that we get to grow our network as well, have you part of those discussions so that we can actually look at the community needs and community priorities so that we can actually act upon them and try to support with community impact. And then finally, looking at developing those strong technical skills and talent diverse pipeline for our workforce within Microsoft. Our CEO, Satya Nadella, is at the bottom of the page, and as he talks about trust and sustaining that trust with our customers and partners, really we're trying to, I suppose, speak to our ethos of empowering every person and every organization on the planet to achieve more. And I suppose, through data center community development, in essence, we want to be a good neighbor within our communities. And I suppose if we advance to the next slide, we can talk about how we actually go about our work. Underpinning to all of this is three core pillars. We want to try and promote diversity and inclusion. We want to ensure that we have community equity in place. And also for our workforce, we want to make sure that they can give back their time and talent through employee engagement activities. And so we have a whole host of different initiatives that we have comprised, and we have program owners that lead these out, starting with the Community Empowerment Fund. So those of you that may not be aware that we have a Community Empowerment Fund that supports nonprofits with funding for various different activities. We also have a community workforce development team that supports those technical skills and ensuring with the upskilling and reskilling of individuals so that they may look at the ICT industry as a potential career opportunity. And we also have community broadband. And we also, through community broadband, we're trying to build reliable, secure, robust networks within community centers or community organizations. And then I suppose just to put it in a reverse order, I lead the program for digital skills and transformation, and we're looking at K-12 education. We're looking at supporting nonprofits with their digital transformation. And I suppose to go back to community environmental sustainability, which is mostly topical for this conversation today, and working with ChangeX, we run various different activities in the community, looking at renewable energy, reforestation, getting our employees, as I said, out into the field, potentially to plant trees or to give back. And I think ChangeX is a fantastic way to be able to mobilize some of those grassroots funding to support those community-led projects as well. Again, this speaks to our corporate mission of being carbon negative by 2030 and extending our commitment to looking at zero waste, looking at water consumption, looking at energy and carbon emissions, and also our ecosystems. And so in the next slide, we have a couple of numbers just to share, and I won't go through every single one of them because that wouldn't be appropriate. But I suppose just to bring it back to Dublin, we're very proud to have a data center academy in place in Collinstown Park. And I see that some of the people from Collinstown Park are actually on the call as well. So I'm very happy to see that. The fabulous Pauline Duffy, principal there, and also Etna Hogan as the ICT coordinator leading the Data Center Academy in Collinstown. We have launched previously the support of 10 schools in the immediate Southwest Dublin area through the Schools Connect project. And we continue to support those schools when it has been a very much a challenging time for everybody. We do that through our education partner, H2 Learning. Through our broadband projects that's mentioned here, we've hosted actually quite a considerable amount of broadband projects, looking at the likes of the Fedacurn Youth Centre. We've worked with the Clondalkin Drug, Alcohol and Task Force. We've also worked with CASP, which is on the Fonthill Road. So we continue to look at those immediate locations where we can support and build out a strong and secure foundation of a network so that they can put that mind at rest and continue to operate on what is the most important work and serving their end users. In addition, I suppose when we look at the environmental sustainability projects, we've had a wide variance. Most recently, we supported quite a considerable investment around public buildings in the Greater Dublin area, but also around nationwide, putting rooftop solar in place so that, number one, that we can reduce the carbon footprint, but also reduce utility bills for those organizations as well, and all generated through renewable energy. And I suppose that brings us to ChangeX. And ChangeX have, as they said, that this is their 10th time and they're coming back home. And I keep on getting in the neck because, we probably should have started with Dublin because they're an Irish nonprofit, but I'm very proud for them to actually be starting here. They've, been such thought leaders in this space to be able to scale their project across various different data center locations in the US. And it's very proud to be able to launch this data center community development supported project with ChangeX. And with that, I will hand it back over to the ChangeX team.
Excellent. Gary, thank you so much for the introduction there. And it is so good that it is coming home. Just before I quickly introduce Paul O'Hara of ChangeX, we all know in the last couple of months, last 12 months really, the importance of on-the-ground grassroots activity, but also how incredibly important it has been for employees to feel connected to their employer and to their brand and to those values. Any observations or comments to make on just how your colleagues are feeling about today's launch and how it resonates with them at a time when we need to feel like we're doing good? Are you there, Gary?
Sorry, I was trying to come off mute. Apologies. Sorry. I suppose, look, there's been immense challenges over the last 12 months, as you say, Karen. And one thing is that we continue to listen to our communities. We continue to see where we can provide input. We've been looking at digital transformation projects where we can support nonprofits, I suppose, to harness technology, maybe to continue to reach their end users as well, because as we know, we're evident to that today. We're all hosted on a Teams call. We're all, having to enrich a digital experience. And I suppose as a technology company, we always try to work to our strengths to be able to serve and support those communities. So for us, it starts with listening first, and then being able to understand those needs and be able to try and act on them.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you, Gary. So yeah, talking about all things tech and how critically important it is for us to be able to use technology, even though people might not think of tech and tech platforms to be equated with food growing or pocket forests or all of the other amazing innovations you're going to talk about later. Can I please introduce to you Paul O'Hara, who is the CEO of ChangeX, to talk about that partnership, and then a little bit of an introduction to the challenge, Paul, before Katie and Niamh go into the devil of the detail.
Yeah, very good. Thanks a million, Karen. Hello, everyone. My name is Paul O'Hara, and I'm one of the co-founders of ChangeX, along with Niamh and others in the team. And yeah, I'm delighted to be, as Gary said, it's taken a little bit of time to get around to launching in Dublin, but we're very grateful to be doing so, and it feels like a good time as well. So yeah, I just first of all, just wanted to say a huge thanks to Microsoft. They took a punt on us as a small Dublin-based nonprofit to go and do stuff across the US. And we had done a little bit in the US. We probably oversold our capability, but we, managed to pull it off, thankfully. And it's been a great partnership, I have to say. It's been a real pleasure to work with all the team in the US and with Gary and Richard and others on the European side. So anyway, huge thanks to Microsoft for taking the punt, and it's been a pleasure to work with you. So a little bit about ChangeX. We started in the Burren about 6 years ago, together with a guy called Brendan Dunford, who some of you will be familiar with. Brendan is a founder of many different things, including Farmers for Nature and Burn BO and different initiatives. And I got to know Brendan through the Ashoka network. We were investing in social entrepreneurs, including Brendan. And I was always kind of struck by all these innovations that were coming up from communities around Europe in particular, where I had a kind of a knowledge. And those ideas, even though they were proven to work, they weren't necessarily spreading into other communities. And I just always thought it was such a waste to have these proven ideas that are sitting there underutilized, and and other communities were either having to reinvent the wheel or they had no solution at all. So I'm sorry, there's a lot of rain here in the window. I don't know if you can hear it, can you? So yeah, there was a lot of communities that didn't have access to these kind of ideas that we were familiar with through the Ashoka network, and we wanted to make them accessible. And Brendan wanted to do likewise down in the Burren. So we ended up taking on the ambition of getting a bunch. Is that too noisy in the background, that rain? Is that right?
No, it's all good.
This is something I haven't had to deal with. I don't know if it's the wind. So anyway, yeah, we started in the Burren and we spread across Ireland. Then after a while, we've been able to seed like thousands of different ideas across communities in Ireland, which has been a huge pleasure. And then, we spread it in different parts of the US and the UK. And this, so ultimately we would describe ourselves as a platform that's connecting communities to social innovations and funding. So we curate and package ideas that are replicable, that are already proven to work, like urban tree planting. And then funding partners come in and fuel the community teams to activate those ideas. Microsoft in this instance, and it's really local teams who provide the energy to activate those ideas with the know-how of the social innovator and the funding of the funder. And then we use the platform to kind of track and measure the impact outcomes. So it's a kind of an online platform, but very much designed for offline activity in communities. So just jumping on there, Niamh. So very excited to launch this Dublin Community Challenge, and it's launching today. It's a fund of €50,000. I know the amounts vary depending on projects, somewhere from around €500 up to €6,500, I think is the upper end, depending on the project. It's for the Dublin City and County, so right across the region. We're hoping that we'll get to seed around 20 new projects off the back of this. We're hoping that many of those new projects will come from lower income neighbourhoods across the county. And there's 11 great innovations for communities to choose from. And Niamh and Katie will go through, and a lot of the innovators behind the ideas are here, and just delighted to have you all involved and to be able to help with spreading your wonderful ideas. And the theme is all around environmental sustainability. So this is obviously a big theme for Microsoft. They really have been amongst the real leaders in the corporate world in terms of getting to a more sustainable footing. Obviously, data centers are particularly challenging, so the bar is particularly high for any data center company. But I've had the pleasure of working with Microsoft for the last couple of years, and there's loads of impressive stuff way beyond what's happening at the community level happening in Microsoft. And from a ChangeX standpoint, we want to be able to do our little bit as well. And our little bit is really kind of helping to scale the amazing ideas of the social innovators here, and doing that in partnership with companies like Microsoft. So anyway, huge thanks to everyone, and thanks to Microsoft, and thank you, Karen. And look forward to hearing more about the ideas.
Brilliant. Thank you, Paul. And it's so good to hear that what we're launching today is very much the public-facing side of Microsoft's commitment to operating as a very sustainable business, and clearly a thought leader in this space. So let's get into the detail of the challenge. The application process, the who, the how, the when. And you may already know, everybody on the call, Niamh and Katie from ChangeX, who know this process inside out, but who I also know are really committed to making it as simple as possible, because they understand that people on the ground delivering these projects need the time to go do the doing. And so, Niamh, will you and Katie go through it with everybody?
Yeah, sure. Thanks a million, Karen. Yeah, Katie's going to go kind of outline how it works, who can apply, and what people get when they apply.
Thanks, Niamh. Thank you, Karen. So yeah, as Niamh said, I'm just going to take you through the how the process works, and then we'll come back shortly to the more exciting information about the actual ideas that you can start. So this is the Dublin Community Challenge fund landing page. It's live now, and we'll be sharing links with you in emails afterwards and in chat. So this is what we want you to share with everyone. So how it works, you'll select one idea of 11. There's a portfolio of 11 fantastic ideas that you want to start in your community. And then you'll go through a 30-day challenge. So this is a number of simple steps. And we've found, working with community groups over the last few years, that those who complete these simple steps in the first month have a much greater chance of success. So these steps will involve having a call with one of us on the ChangeX team, building your team out on the platform. So you'll need a team of 5 people, having your first team meeting with that group. Of course, because of COVID, that meeting can happen online. So you can just do a Microsoft Teams call, and building an action plan with your team, which you then share with us along with a photo of your team or a screenshot of the team having their meeting. And that's your 30-day challenge process complete. So once you've completed these steps, you'll receive your first installment of funding. As Paul said, the amount of funding you receive depends on the idea you're starting and the amount of and the cost involved with that idea, but it ranges from 500 to 5,000 euro in total. So you'd receive 70% of this funding at that step at the end of the 30-day challenge. 4 to 6 months later, we'll get back in touch with you and we'll want to see what impact your project is happening. So you'll share some outcome data with us and some photos, and then we'll be able to release the remaining 30% of your funding. So who can start? So Microsoft and ChangeX want this fund to be as easy and accessible as possible for anyone to start. So once you're in County Dublin and you're committed to environmental sustainability and improving your community's well-being, then this is for you. So you could be an individual, in which case you'll build your team through this process, or you might be an existing community group, a school, a place of worship, a library, and this is open to all. And so what you'll get once you start, as well as your seed funding, is support from us and the ChangeX team, so from myself and Niamh and others on the team. You'll also receive your own page on ChangeX where you can organize your team and other tech tools. You'll get a pack in the post or online, which will help you to understand how to start a community project in general, and also more specifically the project that you've chosen to start. So I think that's all. There's quite a lot to take in. If anyone has any questions on it, please pop them in the chat and I can answer them as we go through the rest of the call. And I'm going to hand you over to Niamh and the social innovators who are going to tell you about the ideas.
Excellent. Thanks a million, Katie. That's great. And we must definitely talk at the end about the importance of getting those impact data, because if we can't share just how amazing these projects are and the impact that we're having, that's the evidence we need, isn't it, to keep progressing these grassroots innovations and also partnerships such as this. Niamh, is there something that you'd like to contribute, or shall I introduce?
Sorry, yeah, you can go ahead and introduce people and I can jump in at the end and cover off any last things or any of the ideas that we didn't get to.
Excellent, excellent. So like basically I want to do all of these in my community here in Cork, although I'm pretty sure I can't apply for the funding. But if I could just introduce and bring up Catherine Cleary from Pocket Forest. This just gives me such joy. Catherine, will you please speak to the room about your innovation and encourage people to make an application to do one in their locality?
Thanks, Karen. I'd love to, and thanks Niamh and Katie and Paul. It's great to be on this call. I felt a little feeling in my heart when you talked about slightly overreaching yourself going into America. That's a little bit how I'm feeling about this, but I have to say both Niamh and Katie have been so fantastic at getting us to the point where we can share what we're doing, because we're so excited about it. We really want everybody to be doing this in every possible place. A pocket forest is something that you can fit into a scrap of land that you didn't even realize was there, and it was probably something that somebody had to look after, mow the grass or whatever. And we want to get trees into those spaces in cities. We're based, my colleague Ash, she can't be on the call today, she's driving a van down to a direct provision centre at the moment, so it's a good excuse, but we're based in the Tenters in Dublin 8, which has the ignominy of having the lowest amount of green space per person. And when we were locked down here in our 2K, we really, I think we really felt that. I think everybody felt that sort of yearning to be amongst something that was more capable than humans. So anyway, we found this idea of tiny forests, which has come from Japan through India, through the Netherlands, and is based on putting a lot of native species, both trees and shrubs, into a very small area. It can be as small as a car parking space, or our biggest would be the size of a tennis court. In a tennis court size pocket forest, you can fit up to 600 trees and shrubs and ground flower plants, wildflowers around the edges. You can put fruit plants around the edges. There's huge potential and possibilities there. So we set about trying to find out, could we do this? The tiny forest method involves a lot of heavy machinery, which we felt was both very expensive and also took away from that ability of people to get very hands-on with this method. So we're using a more permaculture approach, where instead of digging up a meter of soil and adding things into it, we're just layering things on the top, because what's there is probably pretty good to start with. We're lucky in that respect. And so far we've worked with 3 schools, transition year students in all those schools. And I suppose what has been amazing about working with the schools, and we've been frustrated by COVID in that we couldn't plant with the students because they're obviously not in school now, but even just the soil preparation, which we were doing back in the autumn, was how excited these teenagers were about what we were doing as well, because you know, it makes us think, yes, this isn't just crazy lady stuff, you know, this is actually something that people get and love and enjoy. It's crazy lady, probably not the best way to tell myself, but anyway, if you look at our TikTok account, you'll see why it might be appropriate. Anyway, we have had an amazing learning curve, both with figuring out how to work with people to get the best from what's around them. We've also learned what an enormous resource of waste there is in the city, from coffee sacks to horse manure to composting, leaf mulch, everything, and all of these can be put into preparing your pocket forest. And the fun bit is all along the way. It's not just planting at the end. So does that explain it, Karen? Do I need to say anything else other than I'm a crazy lady, come join me in my craziness?
I think we all need to like do a takeover of the Beyonce, and if you're like, all the crazy ladies, all the crazy ladies, all the crazy ladies.
Come plant with us.
For that, Catherine.
Karen, that is her TikTok. I don't know if you.
The TikTok. We started TikTok just to embarrass our children, and it's working very well, I have to say. They're more
all about it. It's a fantastic introduction and an absolutely deadly initiative. And I do know myself personally, even though I live in rural Ireland and down in Cork, there's a tree over there that very much became my best friend the last 12 months. And I literally used to look at it coming into bud and leaves, and it genuinely gave me a sense of progression and hope, and it's going to be okay. Yeah. And it's going to be okay. But anyway, that's my story. Your story is amazing, and I can't wait to hear of all those pockets of land that's going to be transformed through this fantastic funding. Brilliant. Thank you, Catherine. And we will connect. We'll be crazy together. Brilliant. Okay.
Thank you.
Juanita, don't feel obliged to be crazy or Beyonce or anything.
No, I'm just laughing because there's a few crazy ladies in working on the Pollinator plan as well. So it's a general theme that I think we have in common. So I work on the All Ireland Pollinator plan, and it was the brainchild of 2 crazy ladies, Una Fitzpatrick in the National Biodiversity Data Centre and Jane Stout in Trinity. And when they started in 2015, everyone thought they were crazy. How could we do that? You know, there's still no project funding. It's completely voluntary. And I suppose our approach was to just bring out guidelines for all these different sectors, from businesses to data centres to transport corridors, councils, farms and so on, to explain how you can help biodiversity with a main focus on pollinators. So we're absolutely thrilled. Thank you so much to Niamh and Katie at ChangeX for coming to us to work together. There's 2 great schemes, one for schools, one for residents associations and community groups. We have lots and lots of guidelines on pollinators.ie, from like really simple, talk about keeping the message simple flyers on how to reduce grass cutting. You know, as Catherine was saying, you know, even in urban areas, we have a tendency to make everything look neat and tidy. And as we've done that, we've lost food sources for pollinators. And 1/3 of our 98 wild bee species are at risk of extinction. So the Pollinator plan is all about reversing those declines. We also have a junior plan for schools and a plan for local communities. So each of those, you know, offer different actions. They're all evidence-based actions. They're either zero cost or low cost actions, because it's often about reducing cutting or reducing the use of pesticides. So it's, you know, about doing less and letting nature take over. So yeah, we're just thrilled to get involved and to see what sort of projects come up, because we've no funding. You know, we get asked all the time, is there a fund for this? You know, I want to get involved. And unfortunately, we always have to say no. So this is the first opportunity that we've had to be able to say, yes, actually, if you're based in Dublin, you know, you can get involved here, and it'll be really exciting actually to see what sort of projects come out of it.
Oh, fantastic. And isn't it a joy to be able to say yes?
Yeah,
absolutely. I think that's something that we'd love to relay back to you guys at Microsoft, is all of us working on the ground. Like, of course, we want to support other groups and other projects out there to adapt and embrace our innovations. But oh my God, the adrenaline shot that we get from opportunities such as this really helps us drive on the next bit, doesn't it? So just yes is a joy. Lovely. Thank you so much. Now, next up, Tara Hickey, GIY. Are you there? And she may not be, so that's okay. We did know this was going to happen. So I'm going to jump in instead. I'm not going to try and be Tara because she's far calmer, measured and organised than I am. So what I will say is that a GIY initiative called Grow at School is one of the 11 innovations. This is a project that we have been running for a little while now, including in Dublin. It's a very, very simple intervention, and the macro challenge that we are addressing actually, is the very severe issue of food illiteracy that is amongst our young people. If you were to go and ask any number of kids out there, where do peas come from? They'll probably say the freezer. I shudder to think where they think milk or indeed any other food product is. And what we want to do is recognise that these are the next generation of consumers and influencers and producers and decider makers and all that kind of stuff. And so we are working with a variety of schools, urban and rural, and in this case, anybody in Dublin, as you all know, to provide them with a kit, effectively, a Grow at School kit that is specifically around the school calendar. So any of you growers out there will know right now we're heading into the sow-a-thon period of a growing season. It's so, generally with the view to harvesting at a time when schools are closed. And so the kit and the seeds and the resource guides and the invitation to the GIY community is really acknowledging that it needs to be during school time. It must not be additional work to teachers. They quite literally have enough on their plates. And it is also about creating an outdoor school classroom, whereby through food growing and learning about food and the importance of food and reconnecting with food, the teachers are still able to do things like maths, like science, like biology, etc., or it just might be the green space for them to sit and breathe for a moment. So when heads are like this and shoulders are like this, we're finding that staff and students are going out and breathing like that. So yeah, it's a fantastic initiative. It's very, very much designed for people, again, with little space. No more than Catherine, we recognise that you can do a lot with what you have. And it's all about encouraging the school to adapt that kind of perspective of can do, we can grow. Even if you look out onto a blank piece of concrete, you'd be amazing what you can transform with a kit like Grow at School. And all the support and the resources are available to the teachers and the students to keep them growing. So that was me being Tara. I'm sure she'll be mortified at that. And again, any questions, do please ask. And the next person I'm going to introduce is Tessa to talk about Community Fridge. Are you there, Tessa?
I'm here. Hello. Thrilled to be amongst such an exciting group of projects. What a tough act to follow. My internet's a bit blippy today, so I'm on and off the camera, so just wave at me, Karen, if I'm going. I'll try and just do a kind of 1-minute pitch. So community fridges are spaces where anyone in the community can exchange surplus food. So at current, about 1/3 of the food in the world goes to waste, which is a real travesty, and that accounts to roughly 8% of global greenhouse gas carbon emissions. And we know that food waste happens at the household level and at a small retail level more often than not. So there's tons of pockets of hyperlocal food waste around in communities that could do with redistributing. So community fridges provide a really nice outlet for that, but also they more often than not become the hub of communities. So spaces where people can meet others, so they reduce social isolation, but they're also sites of food education. So very often they have growing projects attached, cooking workshops attached, or people are given kind of new information around the kind of crazy foods that they might find in the fridge. So we coordinate at Hubbub. Sorry, I should have said I'm Tessa from environmental charity Hubbub. So in the UK, we coordinate a network of 140. We've been supporting ChangeX to do a similar thing in the States at the moment, and we'd be thrilled to bring the concept to Ireland. So we're able to offer any interested groups a resource kit that kind of walks them through the A to Z of setting it up. How do you deal with all the health and safety issues? But also we have a really kind of fun, inclusive pack of branding that people can help pop up locally as well, and we can provide all kinds of guidance on securing food, but also the wider activities that you might want to embed around the fridge to bolster the environmental and social impact. So that's a whistle-stop tour from me. Thanks.
That's fantastic. Okay, I know I'm going to ask the question everybody wants to know. What's the weirdest thing that's ever been found in the fridge? A fridge.
There's so much. I mean, very often it's odd vegetables that are at the back of the retailer that they can't sell. So, you know, you've really got the kind of kohlrabies. It's also been lots of kind of old school ferments that people don't want, or just kind of, I think there was a kilo of tripe that did actually go into one fridge at one time. So you take your pick. We can do a little vote in the chat.
Excellent. Well, there's some very clever chefs and Insta influencers and all that kind of stuff out there who can literally make something out of nothing, even tripe. So there's always a solution is our family motto here. So yeah, I might be interested to see what's in my own fridge actually. Now you've got me thinking. Thank you so much, Tessa. That's fantastic. Madeline, are you here? You are next up.
Yeah, I'm here. Hey, how are you? So I've got shocking internet. I hope you can see and hear me, but I'm Madeline Murray, and I'm a co-founder of Change by Degrees with Tara Shine. Tara can't be here today, but I'm absolutely delighted to join. And just to speak to what you're saying there, it's so nice to be able to talk about our projects again, because we're so busy all the time. So it's just, I got such a kick out of getting ready for this. So, okay, Plastic Free for Kids was born out of Plastic Free for Schools, which was a community foundation funded project that we hosted on ChangeX. And thanks to Niamh and Katie and Paul for setting it up for us, because it was no mean feat to get it up there and get everything organized. And Plastic Free for Schools, the idea was to connect to 100 schools in Cork and teach them about going plastic free and becoming plastic free ambassadors. And we got as far as 32 schools with our amazing outreach officer, Anne Foles, and then COVID hit. So we pivoted and we put everything online. So we've got 8 online lessons now. And they we have a sign up form for teachers. So teachers can access it and the general public. And again, it's all through ChangeX. So we've got 49 schools from Tipperary. We have the 100 schools from Cork. We've got 55 schools from across the entire country, all accessing the lessons. And we've got people from 13 countries around the world looking at it, from like Australia and the UK and Romania. Yeah, Belgium. It's bizarre. It's lovely. And I literally just checked there. So we've got 6,500 views of all the videos, and we issue certificates. And the lessons run on everything from the history of plastic to plastic and the SDGs, plastics and our oceans, plastics and food, and how you can become an ambassador. So the whole point of Plastic Free for Kids and Plastic Free for Schools is that these children go out into their wider community and become educators. So that is what Plastic Free for Kids is. We're absolutely thrilled to be part of this entire program and hope that people avail of it, because what the funding can do is help people do everything from like have an expert speaker in to getting really good recycling bins. We can help to organize, they can use it to help organize plastic free prizes when they're doing competitions. It can help them as a community, a school community, to reach out to local sports clubs and tidy towns and work with them to become plastic free. They could install like water fountains in their schools so they're not all bringing plastic bottles of water in. And they can use the funding to do really great things around plastic education and awareness raising. So yeah, we're delighted that we're involved. Thanks very much.
That is fantastic, Madeline. Thank you so much. Do you know what I'm really struck by from everybody that's spoken so far? And Francesco, you are not last, you are last but not least. So just get ready to join us. But how very simple the execution of these innovations are, clearly backed up by resources and how to, and it's all about empowering people of different ages to just make differences in their day-to-day life. And none of these things happen in isolation. One community, one area, one space could adopt all of these innovations because they layer in and will link in one across the other. And as you were talking, Madeline, all I could think of was like local action, global change. What do I do here today? And what's the impact that it's going to have? It's so inspiring. Okay, brilliant. Francesco, and we're on time and everything, which is amazing. So you are up.
Hi, Karen. Thank you so much. So actually, I just want to jump on what you were saying. As We Count is all about empowering local communities, and specific to empower them with technology to do something about local traffic issues and local air pollution issues. So it's all about, probably you noticed that whenever there is a problem related to traffic, either speeding or high volume of traffic or anything like that in a local community, people, they just get vocal on social media, but they cannot do anything beyond that, because at the end of the day, they can just complain, but they don't have evidence. So they don't have anything to support their claim. So basically, We Count is about giving them sensors to monitor traffic, to monitor air pollution, but at the same time, actually, to provide them also with tools to make sense of the data and to drive everything into some kind of a policy proposal. So a policy proposal based on solid data to push the local authorities to do something about the traffic in the local community. So at the moment, what we did is that we already, we got support from the European Commission, the Irish Environmental Protection Agency, Science Foundation Ireland, and local authorities, and we were able to basically give away already around 300 sensors to local communities around Dublin, but also then it went kind of viral. So we started to send sensors all over Ireland. And at the moment, what we are doing is we are pushing it a bit further and trying to empower with sensors local schools, because at the end of the day, schools, they kind of, they shouldn't, but at the end of the day, they are basically, they attract the traffic. And actually, we end up having high volume of traffic exactly where you don't want them, because high traffic creates high levels of air pollution, and the kids are the most susceptible to air pollution. So what we are doing at the moment, we are working with over 200 schools and giving them traffic and air quality sensors, so they can push forward an argument for an application such as the school zone, or safer routes to schools that's supported by the NTA, and so on. So all about making the environment around schools and local communities healthier and with lower traffic volumes and lower air pollution. So we were, I sent in a proposal for this to ChangeX. And as probably, I'm a boring academic, so it was written in that style. So thank you for all your support to translate it in more common language, if you want. So I hope now it's I'm sure we did a better job altogether. But basically, what we are doing is that we are providing local communities will link where to get the sensors. We will provide them with tools to make sense of the data, and we provide them also with support in how to put together a policy proposal to bring their argument forward with the local authority.
Excellent. Francesco, thank you so much. And yeah, what I really took from that was how important it is to give communities the tools and the skills and the support they need to turn something that they feel very passionate about, but that can be so easily dismissed as a rant, but turn it into something considered and informed and evidence-based, because you can't argue with evidence. I mean, you can. I mean, I can argue with anything, but you know what I mean? Yeah, we're giving them what they need. Now, McKenna, you have to make like a Cork woman on 3 espressos and give us a stop tour with the rest of the innovations. Go.
Yeah, so we actually only have 2 left, so I can do it pretty quickly. So one is Cycle Bus, which after you've worked with Francesco and identified some of the issues in your community, a cycle bus might be something that you consider starting. So it's working in lots of different parts of the world, but in Ireland, it was kind of led by a guy in Galway who started a very successful cycle bus there. And I know it's spread now right across the country, and particularly as schools went back in September, kind of off the back of COVID, a lot of cycle buses have been popping up. But basically it's where community, so school, parents, kids, kind of come together and organize a cycle bus that is a safe and healthier way for kids to get to school and reduces traffic and traffic jams outside schools and all of that. And then the last one is Open Orchard. So Open Orchard is an idea that has kind of originated in the UK, but has popped up in lots of different places. And it's just all about bringing communities together to plant fruit trees in public spaces. So both to give access to fresh fruit to a local community and also to beautify a space. So it might work well alongside a pocket forest somewhere in different parts of Dublin. So yeah, that's all the ideas. I just want to say a thanks and a big welcome to the new social innovators who are joining us today. We're very excited to have some great new ideas on ChangeX, and I'm very excited for communities in Dublin who get the opportunity to get funding to start these. I feel a little bit bad for the communities in other parts of Ireland, but maybe we'll just have to convince Microsoft that we'll have to expand this next year so that communities across the country will get the opportunity to do this. So yeah, that's it for me.
Fantastic. Cork is ready and waiting. Flying flag. Hashtag just saying. That's brilliant, Niamh. Thank you so much. Okay, lovely people that have taken time out of their day to join us. It's a little bit over to you right now. I don't know how I can see the chat because I'm useless and I probably need my glasses somewhere. Does anybody have any burning questions? Who wants to apply for what first? How are we going to spread the incredible word about this fund and all of those innovations? Who are we going to approach? And listen, we all know that it's very easy to be super inspired right here in a call like this, and then you go and you make a coffee and you kind of forget what to do. I would love you all to put in the chat box, what is your next action? Let's prove by doing. Let's make a commitment here. I'm going to tell my school, I'm going to do blah, blah, blah. What are you all going to do?
Where's the chat box?
Where is the chat box is the first question. First action, find the chat box.
Can you see a little admin bar down at the bottom of your screen? It's the third one from the right. It's a little text bubble. If you click on that.
Yeah.
Is that working?
Yeah.
Great. So you should see a thread of chats that have been happening so far, and there's a little box at the bottom to fill in your own one.
Oh yeah. Nice. Nice. Okay, so great. Some things going up. There's some excellent ideas. Community groups. Shout from the hills. Yes.
I can raise one point if anyone wants it.
I missed that. Sorry, what was that?
I'm Fintan over here in the corner. And one of the things you're pushing there is the trees in areas in the gardens, small gardens and in allotments and places. Now, we have a situation in our men's shed where we manage a garden with a half acre and a polytunnel. But adjacent to us, there was a equestrian centre which the council funded and put about 100 very good quality trees around it. and we noticed that those trees have been totally overtaken by ivy. And last year we decided we would have a go at chopping the ivy, trying to control it. And it's a topic which I feel in Corky Park, in all the different parks around the city, ivy has become a pain in the
backside.
You know what I mean. And especially when someone's starting a small plantation, which I know one of the projects is, to make sure that someone goes around with shears or something and cuts any ivy that starts growing up the sides of these trees. Because in our situation, we left one particular tree untouched, and it's quite amazing to look at it and the other 40 or 50 trees which are now bare of ivy, and the comparison is just unbelievable. Okay, ivy has a lot of benefits. It's a place where birds can nest and things like that, but they can nest without the ivy as well. And I felt that it was a project that could be taken on for school children who go on walks. And when they're going around to see ivy growing up the trees, the young ivy, I'm not talking about the big bold ivy, which needs to be cut with saws and things like that, but this young ivy, which becomes eventually the pain in the butt, they can just cut it or break it or anything like that, and it'll do a lot of good. So I'll put it back to you. So it's a project that could be used nationally in forests. Culture must be. Anyway, I'll leave it. I'll hand it back. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Fintan. That was a very specific question, I think, to you, perhaps. Catherine, do you guys want to connect after this? Would that be okay?
Yeah, sure. I would slightly defend ivy, though. I think it's a wonderful pollinator. It's food. It's I'm kind of, we're actually thinking of putting ground ivy in as one of our ground cover plants. So, but I think there's definitely common ground where we can find a little bit of control. But yeah, I love ivy. Sorry.
Come out to Clondalk and Men's Shed and we'll look after you.
I'd love to, Fintan. I love those operations. I'll be out as soon as I'm allowed to leave my 5K.
As soon as life allows. Brilliant. Okay, so we're just coming up to the end of the launch. Really, there's some great intentions set there, advertising on the PPNs, lots of sharing on social. The gang, Niamh and Katie, have an amazing pack to send out and lots of information about which hashtags to use and how we're going to share the resources far and wide. You know, this is a brilliant opportunity for us to show just how well a partnership such as this can work in Ireland, how ready and able we are to really focus our community groups in a particular locality on all of these innovations. It's a fantastic example of a cross-sectoral approach, and one will always beget the other. So you know what? We're very competitive. It's not just in sport or the Eurovision, right? We like to win. So let Ireland absolutely do its thing. Number 10 of a community launch. Let's show them what we're made of. And Gary, I think just before we close out and say goodbye to everybody, unless Niamh or Katie or Paul have anything to add kind of on the practicalities or aspirations, I might go to Gary.
Just a quick one, Karen. I mean, I always get energized from these, but I think we're just so fortunate to have this richness of ideas that have effectively kind of popped up in different communities in Ireland and the UK and elsewhere that are now kind of readily available. And you know, when I think about like the climate action bill and whatnot that came out during the week, like this is where the rubber hits the road from a community standpoint. And there's just such lovely examples of stuff that any community can do. And hopefully every community can do all of this over time, you know, layer by layer, integrating them in different ways into an estate or whatever it is, wherever people are, or in a school or whatever. So anyway, yeah, just to say, it's just so exciting, and so happy to see all these new ideas on the platform, and wish you all well. And thanks to you, Karen, as well.
Excellent. Thank you, Paul. And I agree wholeheartedly. There's so much macro stuff up there, and oftentimes we think that it's somebody else is going to sort it out, but we are the solution. We, the people, are the solution. So let's see what we can do in our homes, in our schools, in our communities, and in our 5K. Yeah, we can be the change. Right, Gary Mclaughlin, close us out.
Yeah, well, we're just launching this event today, and it seems like we have to extend it already. So look, it's been fantastic. I'm so happy to launch it. So happy to have Karen facilitate the conversation today, to hear about the different initiatives. They're really inspiring. I can't wait to see it get underway and start to see those projects roll in as well. So once again, thank you very much to the ChangeX team. Wholeheartedly, they've done a fantastic job across the US. It's great that we're back in Ireland and that we're actually launching it here today. And with that, thank you all. Stay safe and take care.
Excellent. All right, people, over and out.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you,
Karen.
Bye.
Thank you.
We are
Thanks,
done.
everyone. Well done, everyone.
Be well.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Slán.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.